Hello and happy Valentine's Day. You're listening to Profoundish. My name is Alex. I'm going to be joined by Weston. As always, Weston and I like to claim Valentine's Day as our special Profoundish holiday. So, as a treat for all you lovebirds out there, Weston and I have something very special planned today. We will not only be giving sound dating advice, that's right, you're going to be asking the experts, we're going to be answering the questions, but also, we're doing it all on video for the first time. That's right, now you can watch the chaos ensue. This is Profoundish. Well, hey, we should talk about the elephant in the room.
We should.
Weston.
I'm overdressed.
I'm underdressed. Together.
Together. I think this is fun. So, I feel like I'm overdressed. You're underdressed. Your background is much nicer to look at than mine.
Okay. So we kind of meet in the middle there. Here's what I was thinking. If we're relating this to dating, since this is the Valentine's Day episode,
It's the Valentine's Day episode.
Weston, you're the guy.
I'm the guy
that she's going to take home to her parents. I'm the bad boy because I'm wearing the black shirt. That automatically makes me the bad boy.
I almost wore black.
So
I was trying to decide what to dress. I'm like, do I do dress shirt? Do I just wear a nice black shirt?
This is kind of my just go-to, just on a day-to-day basis. It's just not maybe black tees, but just a plain tee. And I thought, you know what? We're hanging out. I want to be comfy. But once again, Weston's the guy that's ready to go on the date. He's got the collared shirt and everything.
Don't ask about what pants I'm wearing.
What pants are you wearing?
I said, don't ask. I'm wearing the button-up shirt, but my pants are still the pajama pants, man. I am sitting cross-legged in my chair in some pajama pants. I've got my coffee. I've got my it's hot. My lit candle.
Oh, nice. I've got
Valentine's Day. I had to light a candle.
Of course, you had to light a candle. Well, I thought you mentioned before we started recording, like coffee. And I thought, because we're recording right now. As of recording this, it's kind of early evening, and I thought coffee sounds good. I usually just do it in the morning. I know Weston will drink coffee 27 hours a day. Yep. But I thought, you know what? I'll have a little bit of coffee. So I'm using my shout out to the lovely Steph. She got me this for Christmas. This is like one of those thermal mugs, but it's just like the size of a normal coffee mug. So it's I love it. It's perfect, easy to carry around, so it stays warm for a long time. So yeah. I like it.
I've got my Dave & Buster's Game Over coffee mug.
Whoa,
with a controller
that's cool.
For a handle.
That's a blatant ripoff of just like the DualShock controller. With the different colored
it's actually
buttons.
I think that's why I like it more. Like it's actually got the analog sticks where they belong, compared to like an Xbox controller where the stick is just
shots
in the
fired.
wrong place.
Shots fired. This is now.
I've always been a PlayStation console kid or whatever, and I've used Xbox controllers. I remember going to the demo stations at a Target or a Walmart or whatever, and there'd be an Xbox or PlayStation. I'm like, Xbox, its stick is in the wrong place.
It doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. Also, what's the black and white buttons? What the heck is that on the original Xbox controller? It's like, what are these?
Oh, those things were huge too.
Yeah, they were big controllers.
Since I grew up, I had PlayStation as well, but I played more Nintendo, and because of that, I'm not married to any one controller because Nintendo did something flipping weird every time they make a new system. So I've never gotten used to a controller. But my top three are probably, Don't say it. I'm going to say the 360 controller first of all. I love the 360 controller.
Oh, I think you were going to say your top three Nintendo controllers.
Oh God, no.
And I was waiting for you to pick a weird one.
Well, my favorite Nintendo controller is the GameCube controller. I do think that controller is pretty good.
I'm okay with the GameCube controller. That's okay.
That's probably the most close to normal one they've ever done.
Yeah, I was afraid you were going to do the one with the 3 legs. I'm like, it's just 64. A monster. It's the 64.
I will say I love the feel of the PS4 controller. I haven't touched a PS5 controller, so I don't know what that feels like, but I've heard that's just an even more refined version, so yeah. I do like I do like that. So I encompass all three in my top three.
So I interrupted you though. Your top three were the 360, and then what?
360, GameCube, and probably PS4, DualShock 4 or whatever.
I guess mine would be the number one would be the DualShock 2.
Classic.
The number 2 would be the DualShock 1. The number 3 would be the DualShock 3.
That's another thing that Sony's always done right, is like they didn't get really stupid with their naming. You got the PS1, you got the PS2, you got the PS3, you got the PS4, and then Xbox is like, we got the Xbox, we got the 360, we got the One, we got the Series, no, we got the X, now I have the Series X. You know,
I don't think I'm ever going to forgive Xbox for not having an Xbox 720 after the 360.
Everybody
we
thought
all
it was
wanted the Game Sphere after the Xbox.
I know.
We all wanted it.
Right. What happened? Oh,
they didn't listen. They didn't listen to their customers. The players. Power to the players. GameStop.
Hey, Weston, speaking of not listening.
Yeah. Okay.
We're here today. This is a little extra special episode. You can see our faces. We're trying this out. And I'm talking about not listening because Weston and I thought, and since it's the time of love and romance, we thought it'd be fun to offer some unsolicited. Oh, I can see you do it, so I can do it too.
I made a little heart.
Boom, 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 boom. We wanted to give some unsolicited dating advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. We have prepared. Have we prepared? We have prepared questions that people might ask for advice on, and we're going to answer them.
Where did you get yours from? When we texted about this before, I said like we should get old ones from Yahoo Answers, but Yahoo Answers is no longer, and I didn't.
Yahoo
realize
Answers
that.
has been dead for a few years now. Yeah, I forgot about that when you said that. I'm like, well, that'd be good. That'll be a treasure trove of information from the mid 2000s that's no longer relevant. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, it's gone.
It's gone. It's so sad.
Everyone goes to Reddit now.
Yeah, that's what I did. I pulled from Reddit. I have some legitimate questions, ones that we could really answer and to kind of really play into the profoundish spirit. I also have some just kind of goofy stories that I thought would be funny to read too. So that's what I got.
I like that. I don't have a lot, but they're the serious ones. So there could be a lot to say. And I'm pulling this from elitesingles.com and cosmopolitan.com. So
I like elite singles.
Those are the ones that I think I'm going to run with the most. They have the more interesting ones. But they're like, again, they're on the more serious side. So these are like actual questions that people might ask about their actual relationship versus something goofy you find on Reddit. It's like, my partner says he's a dog person and I'm a cat person. Right. Will we ever get along?
And then the best part with those ones is always the comments every time.
Yeah.
The comments are always the best part of Reddit. I just pulled from Reddit, but I got a couple good ones too. But I'm glad you pulled from more quote unquote serious sources. I think we have a good mix here. So that's good. Well, I mean, I've got probably more than you do. So should I start with maybe a silly one to kind of break the ice?
Start with a silly one. Let's smash that ice button.
All right. Smash that ice button. Okay, I'm going to read. This is not even an advice one. This is just a story. But this is a great way to, I think, start it off. All right. This one's called, I Just Got Dumped Because I Like Corn in My Spaghetti.
You know?
All right.
I don't know what I can say about that. I've had corn in my spaghetti.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that got dumped. Okay. I wrote that. That was me.
Oh, wait. It says your name.
Hold on.
Okay.
So, written by Magic Man Mo 5 years ago.
Right. All right. Here we go. The title really... Here we go. The title really says it all. I have been talking to this guy for about 2 months. I randomly told him I like corn in my spaghetti and kind of teased him to try it. He circled back around like 5 minutes later that it really bothered him. He then goes on to say, if he worked tirelessly on a meal to cook me, he would be extremely offended if I soiled my gourmet meal with corn. He was genuinely pissed. At this point, I'm pretty weirded out at how this unfolding, I'm pretty weird. It misspelled. Weirded out how this unfolded, but offered that I make the spaghetti and I'll just add corn to mine. He said I didn't get it and then went on to discuss my crap taste in books. I told him this is going to take me a minute to process, and I'm going to have to call him back. He dumped me via text. So that's the story of how I got dumped because I like corn in my spaghetti.
I love the part where it's like, you don't get it. It's like, I can put corn in mine and not yours. Nah, man, you don't get it.
Right. So I don't know if this guy's just completely on, like, I don't know if there's a lot of missing information. Is this guy like a culinary artist? You know, is this really something he's passionate about, or is he just an a-hole? I don't know.
It's one of two things, all right? Either there's a lot more wrong with this lady, and it's just the corn that broke this guy's back, but she doesn't know that she's got a bunch of other red flags because that didn't come up. It's the corn that came up. So either the problem is her, or he's got some sort of weird fixation with food where it's like things have to be a particular way, and somehow that has affected his relationship. So it's like it's one of these two things. But I feel like if you break up with someone over a food choice, there's probably like you probably weren't going to work out in the long run. Like there were other underlying things, and this is what bubbled to the surface. Yeah, because I totally get corn in spaghetti. I don't think is a good idea. They don't go together. They don't combine flavors in any interesting way. But I know growing up, it was very common to have like an entree, like your main thing, and you'd have a side or two. So if you were having spaghetti, your side would probably be like garlic bread. But as like kids, it's like, well, we've got to get a vegetable or something in. So it's like, okay, well, we're in Illinois. Corn. Yeah, we're in the so like spaghetti, like garlic bread, corn. Well, and I like mixing my food. So it's like, well, I'll just mix the corn and the spaghetti, and I'll just have it at once. Casserole style.
It doesn't sound offensive. It just doesn't sound. Right. It may not, like you said. Maybe the flavors don't match well.
It doesn't do anything good. Match,
but yeah.
But you know,
I don't. But then again, you know what? It's 2 months in, right? The 2 months isn't that long. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe this was over the phone too. It sounds like they weren't even in person. So, you know, I don't know.
I think he just wasn't all that interested to begin with, and he needed an out, and he found one.
Yeah,
corn in your spaghetti. I'm out.
I think that's it. He was afraid. 2 months is long enough to be like, okay, is this going to go somewhere? You know, like maybe they're exclusive at this point or starting to become exclusive. It's like but he doesn't want to be. He's not into it. So like, as soon as he found one little weird thing, he just went off, and then now she's sad. Anyway, I'm going to close out of that tab. What do you have? Let's get into some. You want to get into a serious one? I'm going to piggyback off of something you just said, because this was on my elite singles list. When does a relationship become exclusive? Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is that it? That's the question?
On this site, it's like there's questions that are like common asked questions, and then they've got like experts have their answers. So the experts on elite singles are like James Priest and Samantha Burns. I don't really feel like reading their answers. I feel like making up our own.
Well, we're the experts here.
We're the experts. James, who's this guy?
I mean, Weston and I are very in sync after last year, because him and I really we broke down our own relationship, and we really figured each other out. So we can figure out other people's relationships if we can figure out our own. I'll just say that. So.
Sure. That's definitely what happened.
That's sound, right?
That sounds right.
Okay, so what was the exact question? How long until...
when does a relationship become exclusive?
So that's kind of a bigger question than just a literal time frame. That can be when, like, what does it represent? What needs to happen for it to be exclusive?
I feel like that's like a milestone based thing. Like, what do you have to achieve, or like what do you get to? Because you can't just be like, well, yeah, you should be exclusive in the first week, or you should be exclusive in the first 6 months, or whatever. Like that, the time frame would be just so arbitrary. But like, what does it take? Like, what do you need? What level do you reach? Is it level 7, level 29? What level do you reach when you're like, I'm not seeing other people. You probably shouldn't be either. I think there should be this understanding that we're exclusive now. Like, what does that take?
I know in my relationships, when they've gone exclusive, it's always been, and I'm assuming this is probably with most couples, but maybe not. Maybe it's assumed for some. I don't know. but it's always been communicated. Like, hey, we're a thing now, right? That's kind of how it always goes, because you're still early on. You don't know exactly how to say anything you want to say, but you're kind of like, so we're a thing now, right? And then if you're in sync with that person, it's like, well, yeah, I think we are. And then it's a sweet moment, and then you go to Facebook and say you're in a relationship or whatever, right? So
the in sync thing is kind of important, because imagine you saying, we're exclusive now, right? And they're like, sure. And they're like, no.
Hey, you want to hear it? This is a real story. So about Steph, actually, I'll share this really fast.
She was like seeing 7 other guys when you're like, we're exclusive, right? She's like,
well, you know what's funny? She was seeing a couple guys when we were dating for a while, but at the very beginning. But that's normal, right? We weren't exclusive. However, I knew she wasn't seeing anybody else, but like I was kind of ready to take the next step and be able to say like, hey, like, you know, are we at a point to where we can label this now, you know? And she came back to me at the time and said, no, I'm not ready to do that.
Oh.
And at the time, I was so afraid I was going to screw something up with her to begin with, you know? So it's like, oh God, it's over. It's over. My life's over. It's not going to work, you know? When in reality, she was like, I just need a little more time to figure out some things, and then we'll definitely be there. But in general, though, it's good to communicate that, because what if I would have assumed, and I bet some people do this. Yeah. I bet you some people just kind of guess, like, yeah, we're kind of a thing now. No, there's some unspoken things, and maybe the guy thinks they're fully in it, but maybe she's still seeing somebody else because I never had a conversation about it. Or not seeing somebody else, but dating still or whatever. Like, you never know, especially early on. So I'm not saying you have to communicate, but I think that's a really great step, is to be able to be open enough and say, hey, where are you in this right now? You know, I think it's good to talk about that. It's good to talk about your relationship in general and like its status.
I think I can agree with all that, although it doesn't technically answer the question. So you know how to know if you're exclusive, but when should you expect to be exclusive? That's like the real thing, right?
Right, when.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and some people date more casually than others, so it's like, not a matter of like, oh, we smooched, so that means, you know, we're having our Disney fairy tale ending, you know, at the end of the movie, the two lovers kiss, so like we're exclusive now. So, you know, that it might not be like that. Now, I don't know. I don't really know the real answer to that, because I know for me, for better or for worse, if I start seeing one person at all, I become exclusive to that person myself. I'm not seeking out other relationships. That is too exhausting. I am not playing the field when I'm talking. If I'm talking and we're just in the just talking phase, I'm like, yeah, we're just talking, but I'm not using other apps. I'm not talking to other people. Like, I only have the emotional energy to commit to one talking person. So
I've
I know
always been like that too when I dated.
Yeah, so for me, the whole like, when does it become exclusive? For me, it's basically right away. And if I get the hint that this isn't working, it's like, we got to move on, because I need to start talking to someone else. Because if I start talking to someone else, this other relationship's going to disappear from my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I completely agree. Anytime I've dated, it's been kind of like that. Not right or wrong, just everyone's got their ways of going about dating, I guess. I had something to say, something to add to that. I guess, like, for some people, maybe it could be as simple as, like, okay, like, I know in general for me, like, technically speaking, just because I don't want to deal with, just like you said, the work of, it's exhausting, right? I would say, I guess it's already exclusive, with the understanding, though, of course, that this is still early on and we don't know, you know, if this really is by definition exclusive. But I would say that you just kind of get to a point to where, because what about, okay, Weston, let me ask you this. So say you're talking to somebody, you're going on a date or two, you know, by what you just explained, you know, you're viewing it, like you said, for better or worse, it's exclusive for you because you're not dealing with anybody else at that point. I just lost my train of thought. I'm talking too long because I'm thinking of stories to tell too. Take over, West. Let me see if I can remember what I was going to ask you.
I'll start dancing. Do you have anything? We got video now. I can do a little.
Yeah, I know he's got the video.
Play me out,
too
Sonny.
many. Play it again, Sam. do you get to a point to where you're still like swiping on the app? Like, are you still swiping and looking around, or is it really just you're just opening up that app to message that person?
Oh, that's actually a really interesting question. Now that's a good question, because if we've not met in person yet, I don't consider us in the talking phase. I've been in too many casual conversations on apps where like I don't consider us talking just because you messaged me. That does not count.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So yeah, if all you've gotten to is if you're on an app, if it's never left the app, even if it's like a phone call with a real number, that's still better. If you've never left the app, I don't consider myself talking to you. It's just passing time at that point, because I know too many people. That's what they do. They're on the app to kill time, not because they're interested in pursuing a relationship. So like I try not to get my hopes up. If you're on an app and someone's like messages you and you're like, ooh, butterflies. Oh, someone's interested in me. No, sometimes that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
So
more times than not, it goes nowhere.
More times than not. So that does not count for me for the exclusivity. It's once you've gotten off an app and you've like met in person for like a date, or if you've gotten a number for like an actual voice chat or something, then it's like, okay, that's getting a little bit more serious in the sense that we're trying to get off the app and see each other, communicate more, whatever.
I guess in terms of when, for somebody not like us, for somebody who maybe for like I said, for Steph or other people, where maybe you're still dating around a little bit with one or two other people or whatever, I would say you become exclusive when all of a sudden that one person rises to the top and nobody else really matters anymore. And that's not like a magical time frame when it happens, but just kind of like if you're able to think about and look inwards and go, I'm really just thinking about Bill. Like Cheryl and Karen don't matter anymore. I just kind of care about Bill. I'm really finding myself I'm really into Bill. So I feel like there's just kind of that eureka moment for probably, I'm guessing, because I'm not really that way. I just, once I'm starting to see someone, it's just that person, but just like you said. But there's going to come that point for most people, I'd say. Just like, I find myself just, because you're going to have to make a choice unless they're interested in an open relationship, but I'm assuming most, or at least a lot of people are not. So there's going to come a point where you kind of have to face yourself and go, okay, you got to make a choice, or you kind of you look inwards enough to be able to understand that I'm really just thinking about so-and-so now, so I guess I need to cut these other two off or whatever, right? Or you got to make a choice. Some people have to literally make a choice. Like you see some of these things online, if you read them, it's like, I'm stuck between A and B. A is this and this and this, and B is this and this and this. I don't know who to pick, and it's like a literal decision to become exclusive. Sounds like a tough.
That's the dating world equivalent of first world problems. I just have all these great candidates, and they all want to smooch me. Oh, what do I do?
Like, oh, shut up.
Oh, man, my life is so hard. I have all these people that want to love and dote on me and take care of me. Oh, wow. The struggle is real. Yeah. Meanwhile.
Right. Cue the weird, goofy circus music.
I'm sorry if I just simply do not empathize.
But I guess, that's my answer. I guess when you just kind of know. I think a lot of this stuff with love and romance a lot of it is kind of intuitive. It's kind of, you just kind of, you feel it.
When does it become exclusive? Once it's become exclusive. Circular logic. That's the answer.
That was a big first question you had there.
It was. I told you these were serious.
These are. Well, let's go in the middle here. Let's see here. I can't remember what all of these... Oh, okay. I don't know. Okay, never mind. I got it. Here we go. The question is, your girlfriend having a guy best friend?
Question mark?
Remember, these are all Reddit, so keep your expectations in check.
This is a non-issue to me. Like, I have girls who are friends, and I wouldn't think it weird for girls to have guys who are friends. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. But I have definitely seen in person the visceral opposite of that reaction.
Well, hold the rest of those thoughts because I got a little thing to read here.
Okay.
So the title is Your Girlfriend Having a Guy Best Friend? And then here it is. Dear men, I, female 20, have a boyfriend, male 20, of 4 years. So get that time frame in check there. Who has eyes only for me and is a great person, but we do not connect on an emotional level. Recently, I became closer with a guy who understands me on a spiritual level, and we became best friends. Communicating with my best friend, I feel better overall in our relationship with my boyfriend because I fill the void I once felt in it. However, my boyfriend has difficulties accepting this. What do you think about the situation? What advice do you have, and how would you react in the same situation? So basically, she's not getting her emotional intimacy from her boyfriend. She's getting it from her best friend, apparently.
It kind of depends on what those emotional needs are that she's speaking to. Is it a sense that he can't fulfill any of her emotional needs? Because if she's getting all of them from this friend, I think that the friend actually isn't the friend, if you know what I mean. Like, right?
Exactly.
If it's just, if the only thing with your boyfriend, it's like, oh yeah, he has eyes for only you, but your only interest in him is, say, physical, for example, then it's like, well, you just have a bone buddy. You don't have a boyfriend. You have a bone buddy. You've accidentally made your friend the boyfriend. You just didn't figure that out yet. Now, it could be true that she's just not articulating that, like, there are certain emotional needs that her friend is meeting that maybe, again, like girls having their gal pals, right? Their girlfriends, right? That, like, they're going to talk about, communicate with, and do things that maybe they don't want to do with their boyfriend, and that's totally fine. Mm-hmm. So that could be the situation where it's like she can emotionally offload with her friend in a way that she doesn't feel comfortable doing so with her boyfriend. That's not weird to me. Because, I don't know, just relationships and people are weird. So. Yeah.
That seems, the way you just described it, that seems very common. And yeah, we don't know a lot of information here. One thing I do want to point out, too, though, is that, and because my first thought was what you said, right? It's like, well, it sounds like if this is all the information we have and you literally just do not connect on any degree on an emotional level, that's what she said.
And spiritual.
Apparently spiritual, too, right there. I did notice, I mean, so you're both 20 and you've been dating for 4 years, which means you met when you were 16. I mean, you're kids. And, you know, so a lot of it's probably, listen, you probably found the guy that maybe you do connect better with, like, romantically overall. And you're young, you know, you got so much time, like, maybe now's the time to cut this off and see what this is like, you know.
That would be hard, but that is... Yeah. That is hard because there are plenty of people, and it's not wrong to be that way. There are plenty of people that are like high school sweethearts, and they go on, they get married, and they live their whole lives together, and they're happy as can be, and that's awesome. Plenty of people don't do that. So it's like, you know, you're in high school, you're kids, you don't even know yourselves yet, let alone each other. So, like, I don't know, it could go either way there. It's like you said, they just started their relationship and they're 16, they're 20 now. I don't know. Again, that first one where it's like maybe you accidentally found your real boyfriend. To me, I like the idea that your partner should be your best friend. Not that you can't have, like, friends outside of your partner. That's wild to me. Yeah. But I mean, your go-to person that should be, like, emotionally available to you, and you should be capable of telling them anything, even if you don't always want to, because you can always have your friends. That person should be your best friend. And it's like, I don't know. It's that emotional part where it's like, oh, all my emotional needs are met with this other guy. It's like, okay, to me, that's concerning. But
yeah, to the second point, once again, that I just said, I feel like that does kind of partially go back to a little bit just maturity. I think if this person were 30, well, who knows? But if this person were 30, they might have a better understanding and have had more life experience and more social relationships in general. Where it's like, okay, maybe they're at a better place where they can realize, maybe the person who I'm connecting with on spiritual and emotional levels is the person maybe I should try and
getting older is hard too, though, because regardless, like, no matter what you do, you're going to understand yourself in relationships, and whether or not understand them better, but at least understand them different when you get older. I don't think I would have understood at age 20 what it would have meant to have an emotional connection to someone with my today's brain. What I think of as an emotional connection is I don't think what 20-year-old me thought would be an emotional connection. So I don't.
That's true too. That's true. Yeah.
I'm just.
What's
I'm
that
old
mean?
now. I don't know.
Because, like, what if she just is able to share her secrets with this guy, and she can't with her boyfriend? Like, if that's it, like, that's just one very small thing. That's that's just sharing secrets, because that could be to her.
My
May not be a
favorite
true spiritual connection or whatever.
I think my favorite example of that is like how comfortable you can be. What is it? It's like, okay, so boyfriend, girlfriend are together. And if say it's me, I'll put myself in this position. I'm the guy, and some hot lady walks by, and I nudge my girlfriend like, dude, she's smoking. That would make a lot of people uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
But like so in my brain, I'm thinking at a younger age, I'd be a little uncomfortable if my girlfriend did the same thing to me, because it's like, why are you pointing this out? What does this mean? Now that I'm older, I'm like, sure, you know what I mean? Where it's like,
right, yeah.
I've been around long enough. I've seen plenty of hot people. We all have. Like, seeing a hot person isn't enough of a trigger in my brain to be like, oh, alert, woo woo, danger. Relationship is folding because my partner thinks someone else is hot. We've all seen hot people.
Exactly. Yeah.
But younger, I feel like if you're younger, that's more of a concern. I don't know.
Well, Weston, what's your final verdict? If you could sum it up,
If I could
what
sum
do you
it all
think
up,
she should do in this situation?
I think she should break it off with both of them and find herself and fall in love with herself and live the van life for the next 5 years.
Hashtag van life. I'm going to agree with that. So, impressive listen 294. I know you asked this question 2 years ago, but you got our answer. Hashtag van life. That's your answer.
Find yourself. Travel the world.
I've actually been going down some YouTube van life rabbit holes lately. There's some interesting... it's fun to watch people do that. I romanticize it in my head. Like, I go, oh, I want to do that, but I know that I actually don't want to do it. But I'm like, I want to do that.
I know that I don't want to do it, and I don't fantasize about it. I see that, and I'm like, that just seems awful to me. Okay.
Fair enough.
I can't possibly get a strong enough Ethernet connection from a van. It's just not going to happen.
Fair enough. I can't argue that.
I'm pretty connected to the internet. I'm not one of those. I can fantasize about being the guy that goes out into the woods and like some sort of woods in the mountains, in the Smoky Mountains or something like that, and vanish and write my great American novel. I can fantasize about that, but I couldn't.
Yeah. That's, once again, I'm very easily, impressionable. I definitely, like, I go, oh, I want to do that. And I'm like, I know that I don't want to. I visited a friend that we both went to school with last summer. I think it was the summertime. And he literally lives 30 minutes up into the mountains. Like, I can't drive up there. He had to come get me in his Jeep because it's just too rough for a car to go up there, right? He's actually in the mountains with just like, it's weird. Anyway, he's up there. And only one way up. So, and I went with Steph, and we're like, ooh, we want to live in near the mountains and all this stuff. And I thought, maybe we want to do this. And then we went up there. We don't want to live in the mountains because it's 30 minutes one way. They were telling a story about how somebody got, like, they passed out. They weren't waking up. They had an ambulance couldn't come up to get them. They had to drive 30 minutes down to get them to the hospital. Right, they're working on a helicopter pad to like for people to go up there to get them, but it wasn't ready yet or whatever. So like that, that's way too far out in the boonies. I'd rather like live near the mountains in a nice, comfortable neighborhood on the ground with Ethernet and all that good stuff.
That's where I move. Where you're too far out, where if something happens, no one's going to save you. That's where you move when you know you're old enough and it will be time. That's my retirement.
It's
I'm
okay.
already 95. I'm moving out in the woods. Oh, but that's not safe. It's fine. I'm like, I'm the animal that goes off by itself to like die alone. Like, it's fine. I'm going to recede from society, and I'm just going to slowly vanish.
I like it. That's what's going to happen. He's going to crawl off. He's going to be like in the forest somewhere. He's got like a pot of coffee in one hand, and he's got like a controller in the other hand, and maybe a book too, and he's just He's
I'm
just
not-
gone.
It's the like if I won the lottery, I wouldn't tell people, but there'd be signs. It's the when I get old, when I get too old, I'm not telling people, but there will be signs.
I like it.
Do I?
All right, what do you
should I-
got?
I'll stick along the lines of the sort of like if you met long distance or on an app or something kind of train of thought. How long do you message and wait before meeting in person?
So this is another one of those. It just depends on who you are. Because, and I'm curious what yours is. I think you and I have talked about this personally, but I can't remember what your answer is necessarily. I'm a few years removed from online dating, but in the past, what I've done is, I think I've always waited maybe what most people maybe would say is a little too long.
Yeah.
Before we meet in person, just to play it safe. But I also do that to let them know that I'm really interested in letting them know that I think for me, it's partially nerves, a little bit nerves, but a lot of it is I want you to know that I am not a creep who's just wanting one thing. I want to get to know you a little bit. And when I think, when we really kind of have a good understanding, at least via messaging, that we know each other a little bit, then like, hey, let's go get some coffee or whatever. I'm not saying my method is the right way or the wrong way, but that's how I do it. So usually if I had to give a time frame, it's talking for 3 weeks, maybe 4, maybe a month before I would actually ask them out. And sometimes, from my experience, it's fizzled, but maybe it would have fizzled anyway if we never met in person. Maybe that's a way to filter it out. I don't know, but that's usually what it's been for me.
This is an interesting question to me personally because my thoughts on this has changed like 180. I used to kind of think more along the lines as you, where it's like I want to talk for long enough to get comfortable with this person, to trust going out and meeting this person, or if you're sharing numbers or whatever, where I'm like, it's like almost a trust issue. It's like I want to make sure that like I'm going to be comfortable and that like I trust myself and this exchange and blah blah blah. So like that used to be my thinking. It's like, well, I want to talk for a good while before I'm comfortable meeting someone out in the public. But over time, as I've gotten older, I'm like, I don't have time for that crap anymore. I've had too many, like you said, sometimes it fizzles. So I don't talk about emotional energy, right? Like going exclusive. Like I don't have the emotional energy to keep up this conversation for a month before I'm like, we need to meet. I can't do that anymore. And it can suck. But if you can meet sooner and it doesn't work out, then sooner that it doesn't work out instead of like dragging along for so long.
Not to mention that, say it's going well and it's been 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. Not that you're like in love with this person, but like you've kind of started to develop a little bit of a connection with them. Maybe you're talking a little bit every day, and the next thing you know, it still fizzles out. Or then you go on that date and it doesn't work out. And it's like, oh my God, I just kind of wasted not just like my time, but also just kind of a little bit of my emotional, I guess you said energy. Like this, it's gone. Like, now I have to start over again. So I see what you mean.
So that's why I'm on the 180 train where anymore, I wait 1 or 2 days.
Okay.
Literally, like, I'm like, as soon as I can get you on the calendar, let's go. Let's figure out if this is working or not. Yeah. I'll buy the dinner or lunch or whatever. It doesn't, let's go.
Well, plus sometimes like phone, texting, conversations aren't a great first impression anyway. Like they don't necessarily describe who you are as a person. So
I feel that way.
Text etiquette can be pretty different than you.
Yeah, I feel like the way I text is very different from how I like behave and talk. So like, and I feel like that's the same with loads of people. So I'm like, the sooner we can get face to face and know who we actually are instead of who we're pretending to be over text, the better.
Yeah.
And that's not even about getting into like catfishing and people actually pretending to be other people. It's not even about that. It's about like, we all have a wall. We're all kind of like putting on our best front or a front of some kind. It's like, let's get to it.
Right.
So I think it's just, this is a question that I thought was really interesting because I'm like, I used to be like, wait for freaking ever. Now I'm like, as soon as possible.
No, that makes sense. I appreciate you sharing that and that kind of transition. I know that I feel like going that route doesn't really have a lot of drawbacks other than them going, it's too soon, I'm not interested, thanks, bye. Okay?
That it could be really pushy.
Now, but there are, I'd say, a little bit greater drawbacks to the other approach.
Yeah.
If you wait too long, you could be giving the message to them that maybe they're not interested in me. They're not asking me out on a date. They're just talking to me on the phone. Are they not really that interested? That can start to get the other person to start spiraling and thinking, maybe they're not into me, right?
Right.
So there is a line where you can't be just talking on the phone for 4 months, especially if you live 20 minutes away from each other. It's like...
Yeah.
Because that's showing that maybe you don't have a lot of interest, I think.
Yeah. I think there is a fine line to not sound like you're just being desperate to meet someone. So I think how you talk is very important, that you're not just like, please see me. Please could we meet? You know, it's good to not be desperate because that's not what it's about. But yeah, to me, that's what it's like. I am showing a very clear interest in seeing you. If that's too much for you to handle right now, I can slow it down. But now I have that clear interest, and I'm not messing around. you know what I mean?
I think about, I don't know if you know who I'm thinking of, but I won't name names, but a mutual friend of ours. I remember in high school what he would do. There would be no, I don't know what you want to call it, build up or talking or nothing. It would just be, he would like pretty much go from girl to girl. And just go, hey, do you want to go out with me? That's it. They've spoken 3 words to each other. Now, granted, we're kids, right? I mean, this isn't adults here we're talking about, but I remember giving them so much crap for it. It's like, they always say no. Like, yeah, because they don't know you. You just go up and say, like, hey, Emily, you want to go out with me? I don't know you. Like, why would I want to go out with you if I don't know you? You know?
So let's talk.
It's like he didn't understand.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's, again, talking about age too. Like I can't, high school, which I was like in like one relationship all through high school, but like high school is so weird because like what it even means to be going out with someone is almost just like a status, like a social status, where it's just like, oh well, like you're gonna be more favorably looked upon if you are with someone because that means you're desirable. So it's this sort of weird, almost like you're trying to collect a partner. That's the weird mentality or vibe I feel like high school relationships are. Like you're not looking for a an emotional bond with someone. Again, in my view, it's like you don't know who you are yet. You're trying to like emotionally bond to someone in high school. That just seems young to me. I know people do.
There's a big clickiness to it in high school. Like you're teenagers, you know, it is like you're kind of at a different status if you're in a relationship. When in reality, there's people who are single and there's people who aren't. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But especially when you're in high school and your emotions and hormones are at an all-time high, there's so many other emotions and feelings and perceptions that you attach to yourself when you're single and you see somebody else who's in a relationship, almost as if like they're better than you, like they got it figured out and I don't.
Yeah.
When in reality, no, not really. Like they're like maybe you're single and you want to be with somebody, but that's all it really is. If you look at it without any emotions attached to it,
I want
you're single.
Jesse's girl.
They're not. Wish that I had Jesse's girl. I do wish I had Jesse's girl. I
don't know. I thought Stacy's mom's got it going on.
Didn't they do something about didn't they redo that song, or like they did a sequel to that song, or am I making that up?
It's been parodied or remade by other people before. I don't know if...
Maybe that's what it is.
I don't know.
Like, what about Stacy's dad? Maybe he's a good-looking guy. We need one for the ladies.
There is a gender-bent version of that song. I think it's called Stacy's Dad. It does exist.
It'd be even funnier if, Stacy's dad is just a complete uggo. Nobody wants him. Stacy's dad
obviously,
is super ugly, too.
Dad bod, hunk, it's that whole thing.
Yeah, I got you. That was a good question. I liked that one. All right, let me pull one here.
Pull it.
Okay. Here's another... I guess this is the question. So let me read this to you. So here's the title. My date was deliberately 45 minutes late to test my interest.
Deliberately.
So this is interesting to me. Okay, so here it is. My 30 male date, 29 female, tonight, was 45 minutes late Now, punctuality is not a huge red flag for me personally. Things happen. She said her mom called unexpectedly, and I had no issues with that. So I had a drink and caught up on some messages because I'd had a busy day that day. The date went really well, and we talked about a second. Both agreed, and I joked at the end, "You will be on time next time, right?" And she said, "You know I did that deliberately, right?" Then she explained she does it regularly to see if the guy is truly interested or will get up and leave. I found this a bit bizarre, and it makes me wonder what other tricks she might have in store. Or am I just overthinking this?
So I'm kind of two minds. My one mind is like, I know how I would, like what my follow-up question would be if I was in the guy's shoes. And then my other mind is exactly that. It's like, if I know if you're already playing games, I'm a little concerned for where this is going. Like, I'm not here to play games because, like you said, it was like 29 and 30-year-olds. So these are people like my age. So it's like, I'm 30. I'm not playing games. All right. I think my time's valuable, and I wouldn't do this to you. Yeah. You shouldn't do this to me. I do know that if it were actually me in her shoes, because I am more diplomatic than that in person, I'd say, how many guys have left you? Like, how often does this work?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know the details. Don't just tell me, "Oh yeah, I do this." I'm like, "Okay, how often do you do this? How many guys has it been? How many guys are you standing up?" Like, they're leaving because they think you're not showing. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm seeing how interested they are. You just told them that you're not interested because you didn't show up. Now, you made this whole giant lie about your mom calling you. Again, you're starting the relationship off with games and lies, and it's already a red flag to me. Are you overthinking it? Maybe. But also maybe not. I don't know.
But maybe not, right. Because I was thinking about, like, maybe she just has a kind of a strange, unorthodox way of... Because the heart of this is really just... She's probably serious, meaning I take... Just hear me out, right? She takes her date seriously because once again, it's just a weird way of doing this whole test, and that's the games thing is weird, but like the core of it is I want to make sure that you're like really interested. Now it's too early, like 'cause if it's your first date, it's kind of weird. But I don't know. I just try to be devil's advocate a little bit and just think about the core of what she's really feeling and trying to do. Maybe it's the wrong way to do it or trying to uncover that. I don't know.
I think if anyone's overthinking it, it's actually her from the beginning. She's invented this game as a test to make sure her suitors are going to be worthwhile, right? She's overthought that process and probably puts a little too much stake into how valuable that is. Like you said, it's a first date.
Yeah.
Like, how amazing of a person do you think she has to believe she is? That she is absolutely, unquestionably worth the wait. I don't know you. Point. It's date one.
Yeah.
You could be a psycho for all I know. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, it's like, I think she might be overthinking this test. It's like, don't test people. Show up, have a good time. If you're not having a good time, don't have a second date. If you have a good time, have a second date. Have 10 dates.
Right.
And if you're just head over heels for this guy, it's going well. If you're not, stop going on dates. I don't know.
Because you wonder what her story was. Like, I wonder.
I'd like to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because maybe there's a reason why she started doing this exercise or whatever. So at the end of the day, though, I think it's a fair thing to say, no games. Kind of like you said at the beginning, no games. Like, we're two adults here. Let's just figure this out and see if it's going to work, or let's not waste each other's time anymore. No
Counter argument. If you're going to play a game, go all in. Don't show up 45 minutes late. Show up 10 minutes late and be an absolute train wreck. Nothing's working. Makeup's a mess. Clothes are on fire. You have no money for the day. Everything's a disaster. Like see if he's willing to fix the situation. Go all the way. Make yourself an absolute, make yourself a burden.
Yeah.
And see if he'll put up with it.
The other thing I was going to say is if we're going to go the games route is wait till date like 2 or 3. Wait till date 2 or 3 where like I was going to say you're out of focus. What's going on?
Oh, there it goes.
Where you were censoring yourself. I don't know if you were taking off your shirt or what.
I don't know. I just went blurry. It's getting steamy in here.
I know, man.
Anyway,
45
wait 2 or
minutes.
3 days. Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah, I would say, two or 3 dates once you kind of have established a little bit of a rhythm. So maybe let's say 3 dates, and then see if you're 45 minutes late. If you're going to play a game, maybe do it then, because then you kind of already have a base. You kind of already know a little bit about this guy, and then see if he waits, because maybe that's when you'd have a better understanding, and he'd have a better understanding of you before you do that. That's the other option.
It makes me feel bad for all the guys that show up to their first date really early because they actually are really nervous. It was a funny story for me and my brother. We were at it was like an Outback steakhouse or something. I don't remember what. I think it was like a steakhouse. We went out for like lunch or something, just cause. And we were at one of those. These are the worst things ever. One of those booths where it's like, there are several tables, but one long booth on one side, and the other side of the tables have like chairs. So we're at one of those. This guy comes in. He's seated next to us at the table. So kind of close, and we're getting the vibe. My brother and I are just kind of like paying attention to this guy, that he's like really well dressed, really nervous, seating for 2, and he's like, he picks a seat, he looks around, he's like, look at the restaurant, looks at the window, changes seats, looks around, trying to figure out which is the best seat, goes back to the first seat, super nervous. This guy's like losing his mind. And then the girl actually finally shows up, she's all well dressed, and they're like chatting, and it's like super nervous and like super awkward. They're like younger than us or whatever. It's like, ooh, they're so cute, they're having a date or whatever. This guy's like sweating bullets like next to me, like on this, like on the long booth or whatever. And it's
I believe it.
It just makes me think of that. It's like, can you imagine if this guy, this nervous, early, seat for 2, can you imagine if she had showed up 45 minutes late? Man, I would have felt so bad for him. I'm biased for feeling bad for the guy. I'm a guy. But I'm just like, this guy would have been crushed if she showed up 45 minutes late.
Well, and maybe he still would be a little bit if after they had a good date, she went, I did that on purpose.
I know.
Like, what? Like, I think, because I do think about him too, like if it's that super anxious guy, because I've been that guy waiting a long time. Like, it's... Oh, I hate that feeling. If I would have sat next to him, like the story you just told, like I would feel his nervousness. I know that I would. You could just pick up on that stuff.
We could feel it so bad. I wanted to, because he was trying to like crack jokes and stuff, and I'm like I had the urge to like, I can one up that. I can bounce that. I can improv that. I just want to go over and start shooting it with him, and I'm like, no, he's on a date. Leave him alone.
Yeah, let him do his thing. Yeah.
I hate those single booth like table situations because it makes you feel like you should get like really community about it. And I'm like, no, leave him alone.
Oh, I hate that too. Yeah, I feel the same exact way. Yeah. All right, what else you got?
Is it me? I forgot what we were talking about.
Yeah,
I'm meeting my
mine.
partner's parents for the first time, and I'm super nervous. Any advice? This one's coming from Cosmopolitan this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The parents is an interesting one.
Yeah.
And I think once again, it always goes back to, it depends, because everybody's different. I've always been really nervous with meeting parents, so much so that I never know that most of the time in my past relationships, they've always really liked me at first. And then they don't later. No, I just mean like I left a good impression. So like, but I'm always so nervous about it that I can never, I leave a good, I guess my nervous version of me leaves a good impression, but I don't know what advice I'd give. I guess be authentic, but also understand that these are her or his parents, and you should be respectful. You know, there's a balance. I'm not saying your authentic self wouldn't be respectful anyway, but you need to remember these are their parents. They raised this person. You know, I don't know what else to say besides that, right? Be authentic and be respectful.
I think it depends on the effect that you're going for. So do you want their expectations very low in the beginning so that you can build them up and they actually become more impressed? Because if you come in super respectful, super great impression, they got high expectations for you. If you let them down, they will crush you.
Yeah.
But if you come in a complete idiot, you come in a complete mess, but every time they meet you after that, you're just like the next level.
Interesting.
Then
they start coming in
then you,
with the
then
games.
you gaslight them. They start thinking, wait, maybe we misjudged this guy from the beginning.
Right. I like it. So there's B. There's advice B. Gaslight your significant other's parents.
That's right. They start questioning their own judgment. They're like, well, clearly our daughter or son knows what they're doing because we had this guy completely wrong from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, to the boys, to the boys, make sure you do a little bit of friendly flirting with mom. Do a little friendly flirting with mom. And to the girls,
hot and heavy flirting. Make the girl jealous.
Okay, make it hot and heavy. Yeah,
make her want
jealous.
you more because you're hitting on her mom.
If it's Stacy's mom,
She's got it going on.
You're SOL. She's got it going on. So.
Stacy, you got to up your game.
Weston, I know you have at least some experience with parents in the past.
When you say it like that, it sounded like I have like a unique take on parents. You have experience with parents.
No, I don't mean it like that.
I think we all do a little bit, but
so like, what's your personal take with from your experience with significant others' parents?
I like what your take it if you're being more serious. The take on respect for sure. I don't know how to be disrespectful to someone's parents. Like, put your best foot forward. Don't swear a lot. Don't make a mess. Obvious things. But also be funny.
That's a good piece of advice.
You know what I mean?
Be funny.
Like, don't stress out being funny. Be your own authentic funny, right? Like, if there are jokes that, again, unless you have terrible humor, I guess. But like, there's a time and place for like all kinds of humor, depending on the parents and depending on your significant other. You're going to have a good read on that. Like whether or not it's like, oh, it's puns or it's fart jokes or whatever it might be. Be funny, but like with class. Don't try to be the class clown. Just try to like, put the parents at ease that you're not like hiding something. If you come in sweating bullets and shaking like a leaf, it's like, well, they're going to be like, what's this guy hiding? What does he not want us to know about him? Come in.
I like that.
Be confident that like you've gotten to the point where you're being introduced to parents. So that's already a step forward. Be confident that you've made it that far. Be yourself. Your significant other apparently likes you. Be respectful. Be funny.
Yeah.
Everybody
I like the funny thing. That's good. Everybody likes funny. People resonate well with that. I think another piece of advice, this kind of piggybacks off of be respectful, but I would also say, because some people might need to hear this, and it's use common sense. Like, meaning, like you said, don't swear up a storm, don't, that stuff. But I also mean something like, you haven't played the entire, like you don't know the full idea of what the parents are feeling about the extent of your relationship yet, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe like if you're going to tell a story and maybe the story involves you and her and you're in bed together when this happens. Maybe you should use common sense and not talk about those aspects of that story if you're going to tell a story, right? Like keep that stuff kind of like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Hey, Stacy's mom. So me and Stacy were in bed boning the other day and she said the funniest thing.
Or taking a shower to maybe you take showers together and it's like you have a funny story to tell but it somehow correlates to that shower at first. Leave the shower part out of it. That kind of goes back to the respect thing, but I feel like that's worth saying. Maybe have more stories that aren't just uncomfortable for her parents or his parents. I do like to be funny a lot. I think that's pretty good. Don't force it, but that kind of goes back to my first point. Be authentic. Yeah. Right. Be yourself. Unless you're terrible. Right. If you're terrible, then don't date. But yeah, I guess. Take yourself out of the gene pool. You're terrible. I will say, I know for me personally, it's the be funny thing. It's tough because, I mean, my humor can be kind of alternative sometimes, but I also can be funny in a non-alternative way. I just think really what I do when I get really nervous is that I can't, it's still tough for me to find that balance. I don't mean just with that, but I mean like in any sort of kind of environment where you're meeting new people, it's tough, at least for me, to be able to really be authentic in the funny way. Because I'm always so afraid that I'm going to say something stupid. Even if I probably won't if I really just think about it, but I get nervous about that still. It's just a little social anxiety, I guess, with that stuff. But
Alternatively,
That's my problem.
be the little lost puppy that they just want to take care of. Just be so, like, say all the wrong things every time, be super flustered and lost. And they'll be like, this poor thing. And then they'll take you in.
thing.
They'll adopt you. They're like, this poor thing needs help.
Yeah, I like that. And then you're in. That's it. You're in. Okay. This is another... No, that's not one I want to read, actually. Okay, this is a simple question, but I think it's still worth asking. So, 28 female, hate the moment at the end of a first or second date when you're not sure whether the other person will kiss you or not. I think the more traditional thing to do as a girl is wait for the guy to kiss me. But it's 2021. So recently, if I can't tell whether the guy wants to kiss me or not, I just ask, so can I kiss you? It also helps because I'm short and need most guys to meet me halfway, LOL. One guy I did this with told me later that it was sexy, but another one seemed kind of put off when I was asked. I know everyone is different, but I'm just curious now to see what everyone's opinions are. Guys, would you like it if a girl asked to kiss you?
I think from the guy's point of view, that's almost never going to be poorly received unless you are weird. So I think typically, yeah, go for it. The guy's going to be all about that. I think it's, unless you're dealing with someone with some like masculinity issues where it's like, hang on, she's trying to be the guy. I'm the guy. I should do that. So unless you're dealing with like a scenario where someone's taking it the wrong way, I think for the most part, I feel like if it were me and we're on date like 2 or whatever this example was, if we're on date 2, and I don't usually attempt to smooch people on the first date, it has to go exceptionally well to get to that point. But if it's date number 2 and I'm feeling a little unsure about how well it's gone or whatever, and she's like, may I kiss you? I'm gonna be like, oh, that's just a relief that this went so well. Yeah, sure.
Right. Exactly.
That'd be great. That's a confidence boost right there. Whereas I feel like a guy asking a girl for a kiss is like a real toss up in the air. Like it's a real shot in the dark sometimes.
You say like, can I kiss you? Or she says, can I kiss you? And then like, that's a confidence boost. But also on top of that, that shows confidence in her, which a lot of people, find confidence attractive. Like both ways. So yeah, I mean, same with me. What we're saying is if you're going on a date with either one of us and you ask to kiss us, we'll say yes.
I'll kiss you.
Just let me, hit me up. I'll kiss you.
I'll kiss you.
But I understand too. I think it's something that I don't necessarily fully agree with, but like I understand that for some guys it might be kind of like a masculinity problem or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, hey, it's like why would that put you off? Worse, the only time it should put you off is if you're genuinely not interested in them. But by put off, I don't mean like being rude to them. Just, no, I'm not interested. Right. It's not working out or something like that. Not get all pissy about it.
I just know that there are some guys that are very like, they don't want a confident woman. They want a girl that basically just does what she's kind of told. Like there's some guys that like to be the only one in charge. It's very controlling. I don't get it. I've run into these people and I'm just like, get me out of this room. I'm scared. But
yeah. There's a line there, but
I think most regular Joes would just be thrilled that you enjoyed that date.
Yeah. I know from my experience too, kisses usually you can both feel when it's about to happen, or you can feel when it's probably like there's vibes, they're strong in those moments. And like even earlier on, and almost every single time I've had a kiss with a date, kind of the whole date that night, it never was the first or second date, usually it's third or whatever. But like you're getting that energy, maybe there's a little extra physical touching, like maybe, maybe there's a little, just
if the girl is touching if you're a guy and the girl's touching your arm, you're in.
You're in. Oh, 100%.
That's a kiss date.
because it's unnecessary, like touching. Like if she doesn't have to do that, but vice versa. You can kind of feel it. You can really pick up on that. If you kind of feel like it's probably going that direction for the most part, it's probably going to go that direction. You'll kind of both go in for that kiss.
Yeah, if you're
but
on
not
the
always.
second,
sometimes it's not, but
if you're on the second or third date, find a time where it's not kiss time yet, but find a time where you can be accidentally a little close and see if they like repel or hold their ground.
Did I tell you? Here was my method with Steph on our second date. I purposefully, we were going to go somewhere later, but our first part of our date, for date number 2, because the first date for me went so well. Now for her it didn't, because she was still seeing other people, but for me, it was like, oh, this is it. Let's do it. So this is hilarious. I love our story at the beginning, but our second date, we meet up, and I specifically chose a show, like where a band was playing, because I knew what was going to happen is that they weren't like a loud rock band, but there was like background music, but it was still loud enough to where you'd kind of have to get close to talk to each other. Mm-hmm. So we got like this little like corner table, and we both sat on 2 sides of the corner of this table, and we would like touch knees. Like I knew we were going to have to get closer. It was all, she knows it. And I told her that later on, like this is all a plan the whole time. And I asked if it worked, and she said I wouldn't have known the difference probably. But that's not the point. Guess what? We ended up, at least that next date, we got a little extra, got a little more physical from there. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's
a little
not
bit more
a game,
physical.
right?
There was hand holding.
There was hand holding on the third date. I took it very slow with her. You know what I did with that?
That's totally okay.
Here's what you'll love this. I took it so slow with her. So on our third date, I held her hands, and it was a cold, like October night, and we were out. Well, actually, we just got back into the car from walking outside, and her hands, like, my hands are cold. And so, oh, let me warm them up for you. And I went over there, and I was like rubbing her hands. It's so cringy. It's so bad, but that's exactly what I did to first hold her hands. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Let me warm your hands up for you. It worked. I'm not saying that's not advice, because some people might think, just hold my hand, damn it. But it worked for me.
I think it is advice, right? Like, if she's like, oh, my hands are cold, she could have said nothing and just suffered. So, like,
yeah, you're right.
Like, women will choose to suffer if they're with a creep or a guy they don't want to deal with. They want out of the situation. They'll choose to suffer to get out. But she's comfortable, like, my hands are cold. That's your cue as the guy. You're like, I got to fix that somehow.
I'm in.
Either I'm massaging her hands. I wouldn't go too far. I wouldn't be like, I can warm those up, and then you just start sucking her fingers. I wouldn't go that far.
Just licking them.
Yeah, we've gone too far.
Right.
But do something.
There's a line. And if she says, oh, man, my lips sure are dry, you're really in.
That's when you're like, hang on, I got the
Going for that
chapstick. You
kiss.
pull out your purse, and you're like, hang on, it's in here somewhere.
You like Carmex?
I've also got Burt's Bees.
Yeah, whatever you need.
Well, and then you apply it on her lips, and it gets real strange. The whole.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. It could work. Okay, well, there's mine. How we doing on time? Want to do a few more? I don't mind doing a few more.
We can do a few more. It's a Valentine's Day episode. It's a special episode, so if we want to run a little late, we're done on time if we want to be. We can stop right now. We could just cut it. No outro. Done. Cut to black.
Cut. No music. All right.
All right.
Do you have any other, like, good ones you'd want to read? I might find maybe one more.
Let's see here. Some of these are a little bit like, how do you know it's true love? Which, I mean, we could go into, but that's just so nebulous. Unless you want to go into that one.
That is. I mean, that's pretty wide.
There's some here that are like how to have better sex with your partner. That might be a little too specific. We're just going to go down the list of like kinks and things. We've also got like, I'm scared to talk to my partner about money. What's the best way to do it? That one's interesting.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like more and more, we can go into that one a little bit. I don't know what your experience is. I'm not sharing my money with anybody. But I'm scared to talk to my partner about money. And I feel like more and more I know people, as like friends and people I know are married now. More and more people are choosing to like, my money's my business, your money's your business, and we keep them separate. Versus
that's
like...
more common.
Yeah, versus like my parents, like shared bank accounts or whatever. Like, I just feel like the older generation, definitely like you get married, you share everything, what's yours is mine. But then I feel like people I know now are not that way with money. Like, it's like your money's your business, I have my job, you have your job. Because, you have to have a job. So
I do have experience in this. Steph and I, are talking about engagement and marriage and stuff, and we're kind of just planning some things out and thinking about what that's going to look like. So we have talked about stuff like money, right? Quite a bit, actually. And we kind of, for us, we landed on the same thing with one small addition, which was she'll have her account, I'll have mine. We're going to consolidate a lot of other things, of course, but she'll have her main account, I'll have mine, and then we're going to have a shared account as well. So we're going to kind of do a middle ground. But at the end of the day, that shared account's mainly going to be for stuff that we're
doing together.
Bills. Stuff we're doing together. What else? Maybe, just other things that involve pretty much both of us. Not that we're trying to keep any secrets or anything like that, but like I wouldn't be surprised if we and I don't think there's anything wrong with, for example, having each other's names on each other's bank accounts in case of emergencies or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's still her primary account. I'm just a secondary name on there, and it's my primary account and hers as a secondary name. And then we got our shared one. So I think that's a good middle ground, and it still kind of keeps everybody's money's going that way. Because I don't have any issues with, it's her money. She can do what she wants with it. Plus, her and I, specifically in our situation, we're both very different with our money. So, I think if I saw the stuff that, physically in an account, saw the stuff that she was buying, I'd be like, why? I don't mind saying this because her and I talk about this. Why are you buying this? Why are you buying this? But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with it. We just have different takes on what we spend our money on.
Yeah.
So I think there's really no need for me to see every single transaction she makes or for her to see every transaction I make. There's no need. So we're good with that, and I think that's a good way to go. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I could totally see that being an issue where it's you get an alert on your phone, and then if it's me, it's I get an angry message from my girlfriend or spouse, really, you went through McDonald's for McGriddles again? Stop!
Exactly.
Leave me alone. It's my money. I want a McGriddle.
Right. I was hungry. You don't understand.
Because I feel like that is another. Stereotype's probably not the right word, but another older joke where it's oh yeah, the wife went and spent all my money on clothes or something like that, or the husband's blowing all the money on that stupid beat 'em up car that he's never gonna fix. Weird resentment for how your partner is spending your combined wealth, as opposed to if you kept it separate. It's well, my don't worry about it. It's mine. And then you don't have to worry about someone overstepping and being the spender and the other person's the earner. You don't have any resentment there.
Yeah, exactly. I think there is a line at one point though, because there are some people who are genuinely bad with their money. In fact, a lot of people are bad with their money. And I think that's a conversation you should have with your spouse or your significant other. If that's the case, I know in my case, Steph is not bad with her money. We just have different kind of philosophies on money and how we use it. But so trust is a big part of it too, I think. So I mean, if you know for a fact that you're both good with your money, because let's say one person in the relationship is bad with their money, but they're still separate accounts and you have a shared one too, right? That shared one's just for very specific things. But say one of the people who's the one that's bad with their money, they blow all their money that month, and maybe there's an emergency. And maybe we don't have a lot of money backed up in an emergency fund. Well, we're screwed now, right? And there's going to come maybe times during harder times or emergencies where maybe you do kind of have to come together with your own separate funds to do something. It's possible. That can happen. You don't know what's going to happen.
Sure.
So I think you do need to trust that they'll be smart with their money in case emergencies happen and say, it's hard, things are expensive. Maybe it's hard to have a good savings and whatever your situation may be. Trust is big too. But if you have that trust, I mean, I will say this though, money, I can't remember what number it is on the list. It's the second or third most common reason people get a divorce is money.
Money issues can be a real source of stress. So I can see that. Especially if neither one of you are exactly rich. If you're both kind of struggling to make ends meet, I imagine the young couple trying to start a family in the big city and everything's expensive. That's what I imagine. Yeah. So it's that can be really stressful. So I could see that. Yeah. I think the whole what's the best way to do it? You just sit down. And you're elephant in the room, money.
No, talk about it. I think you'd be surprised how many people don't talk about it until they have to, and maybe and then it causes stress and all this stuff. Talk about it up front. If there's any piece of advice for any of this stuff that I always that I would give, it's just talk about your relationship. Just talk about stuff. Talk about it. So many people don't. I have I'll talk to friends. Maybe I have a friend who's having some sort of issue in their relationship, and they'll kind of come to just kind of talk to me and bounce ideas off me. And one of the first questions I always ask is, have you told them this? Oh, no, I haven't told them any of this, no. They'll tell me, I feel this way about her, or I feel this way, or I feel like she should do this and she shouldn't be doing this, or I feel like have you told her this? No. Just talk. Just talk. Now, there's some things maybe you shouldn't share, right? But a lot of the times, it's something you should really communicate. It always goes back to the C word.
Bro, I don't want to talk. I just want to vent. I want to vent with my bros, bro.
And you can do that too. But if you want that relationship to work, talk. There's a line. But, bruh,
my spouse is so bruh.
Bruh. All right, let me see if there's... Okay, here's a good one. It's a little bit lighter.
Fluffy.
So here it is. There's a title and a short description. What are the top topics that you usually use to make conversations last long? I'm just wondering what topics would really make conversations seem, quote unquote, infinite. Since honestly, I'm kind of bad at conversations, and sometimes when I talk to people, I would find myself in a dead end type of situation wherein I don't know how to further expand or lengthen conversations.
Say something incredibly stupid. Something they cannot ignore. And then they're going to want to talk about it. And you just play it down I don't know what you're talking about. Just start there. And then start, because you're saying something stupid. So you know how to poke holes in your own argument too, right? So use those arguments against your partner until you're both, not heatedly, but passionately conversing about whatever the topic is. And then you're over time, you're easing away from the stupid topic. And now you're just talking passionately about whatever the topic is that they actually like.
You'll get there. I like it.
Say something incredibly... I don't remember what sparked it. The reason I say this was that I was seeing someone and they said something just wild about prehistory. Something about dinosaurs or something. And I'm like, what? It was just one of those things where it's I think they didn't think through the thought or whatever, and I'm just like, sure. What did you just say? And it turned into this whole thing about it was one of those 2 a.m. conversations about the beginning of the universe for no reason, right?
Yeah.
So if you're just trying to make your conversations long, and you're not I don't know what level of substance we really got out of that, but if you're just trying to lengthen the conversations, my advice is say something wild.
I mean, that'll spark a conversation. I do think about, there are some people maybe where it is a real struggle to continue a conversation. I think a part of that would also have to do with the other person. Maybe they're hard to talk to. That's always a possibility.
Yeah.
And then I would say, though, what I do, and I'm curious if you have methods for this, Weston, but I know one thing that I've always done with in dating is I kind of always, there's 2 principles I go by, and I don't know if this is outdated or not, but I remember what a lot of, if you're talking to other guys about dating, you'll hear this a lot. It's get her to talk about herself. Ask her questions, right? Get the conversation going, which in a lot of ways, if you're trying to get to know somebody, I don't see anything wrong with that, but don't be afraid to talk about yourself a little bit either. Because she could end up leaving going, well, I don't know a single thing about him, So you want to leave an impression still. But I say that, but I also say, I always come, because I'm good at talking to people, but I do have the fear that I'm not. So I get anxious about it every time I meet somebody new or in dates. So what I always do is I always have 5 or 6 good stories in my back pocket that I can kind of pivot to. Maybe work related, but ones that I've shared many times that I can so I can tell the story in a very fun way, and ones that are interesting. We've all got stories to share, and probably some goofy ones too. Make sure it's accessible and not the gross stories we shared a few episodes ago.
Sometimes it depends on how quickly you're trying to test this relationship.
It's
It depends on how quick you want it.
Could you imagine, like, so I'm taking a crap at a Burger King, right?
So hear me out.
You
remember when Burger King had that Halloween burger? My dung was green.
Oh, that's right. What a weird
That was the
conversation
Booger
that
Balls episode, everybody. If you skipped that one, you need to go back for the gross episode. We won't get into it
And
now.
most of you did. We saw the numbers. Go
Most
watch
of you
it.
skipped out on that one. I think the algorithm was playing against us on that one. But
I agree.
if you missed it, this is your call to go back and stomach our gross out episode. It starts off pretty tame. So
And then it gets gross
it
right
just
at the
kinda
end there, the
slides
grand
right on
finale.
down. I do think I like the get her talking about herself. That's kind of my strategy. I like your idea of have some stories in your back pocket. I do not come in prepared with stories. I just hope they come to me, and my dementia rattled brain will just come up with something. But
Yeah.
I usually I try to get them talking about themselves, and then I use my improv skills to either joke off of that or elaborate on that. Like try to
Yeah.
go in on that so that I can introduce my humor or my own like input or stories based on where they're going with it. And then the other thing that I look for though is I looked for whether or not they ever do ask about me. Because if it's like all about them, I'm not getting bored anytime soon, but if they're not showing interest in learning about me, it's an orange flag. You know what I mean? Where it's like, well, maybe we didn't have a very long conversation. Maybe, like a coffee date. We had an hour and then we just got into this crazy into their story or whatever. And sometimes if that just happened, then that's fine. But if you've sat down, you're like at dinner and you've spent like 2-3 hours talking all night or whatever, and like you don't ever come up, that gets to be a little concerning. You don't have to bring yourself up. See if they'll bring you up. That's me anyway.
It's important. It just shows interest, and I think that goes a long way. But I always say this too, when it's most people, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't been on that many dates in my life. I've been on a handful. But I'll say that most times, most people are, there's exceptions, but they're decent human beings. They'll ask you about, and you can probably get a conversation or two out of them. There's nothing wrong with asking the questions you would ask at, like, just maybe somebody you just met at work too. Like, what do they do for work? Or what do they, the basic questions, where are you from? Siblings. You can ask those questions. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I think a lot of the times if you're actually actively listening to what they're saying and not just trying to think of the next question to ask, which I've been guilty of before, by the way, in the past, when I was younger, like, just if you're listening to what they're saying, that's going to spark a conversation. Maybe they tell you, oh, I work for McDonald's. I make McGriddles. Go, you know what? I get McGriddles all the time.
You know what? Every time I go through and get McGriddles, my spouse yells at, oh.
Oh, this date's over.
Oh no. No, I like that. Like, actively listen to your questions so that, like, you can participate in the conversation. You're not just, like, going down the checklist.
Because you might think that you're doing the right thing by always having a question prepared. Like, I can understand that way of thinking, like, okay, I want to make sure, but, like, you're getting so involved with yourself that you're forgetting that they're talking to you and telling you about their lives right now, So you got to find that balance and let that, the best you can, let that anxiety go, because you only have one shot at a first date.
For the D&D nerds out there, if you're a dungeon master, you can plan a session all you like, but once you get into the game, if your players decide to go a different direction, that's where you got to go. You can come into a date with a plan prepared, but if the conversation goes a different way, roll with that. Don't panic. Go in that direction. That's the direction we're going. Let's go.
Yeah. There you have it, kids. There's your advice.
That's
from a D&D perspective.
Yeah, I don't know why that's the example that came to my mind. But now, if we were on a date, Alex, you'd be like, well, you play D&D? I introduced a new topic, a new entire conversation out of nowhere.
Exactly.
And I'll be Weston, like, no, D&D's stupid.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Weston, I'd like to consider us pretty good advice givers. And I think I think as long as I want one of two things to happen. I either want one person who's listening to this to go on a successful date because of our advice, or I want one relationship to be ruined because of our advice. If either of those things happen, I consider this a success.
I've got nothing to add.
Because he agrees. We're on the same page here.
Needless, no matter what happens, success. I like that. A relationship started, great. A relationship ended, great.
Great.
Someone's relationship happened or failed. If you listen to this podcast and you are currently single and you remain single forever, we have failed. If you are currently married and we split you guys up, we have succeeded.
We have succeeded.
Let's make this perfectly clear.
That's the profoundish difference.
That's the profoundish way.
Wow. Weston, I just want to say right before we wrap up here that it is a different vibe, like seeing you and talking.
It is.
But I like it. It's good. It's good.
Question. I don't know if I've ever asked you this on Zoom calls or this entire podcast. We're on video. We can see one another. Did you spend more of your time throughout this entire podcast looking at me or yourself?
I'll be honest with you. If my camera were bigger or my screen, it would have been me, but mine's really tiny and yours is really huge for me. So I mainly just saw you.
Okay. Well, because if you click on the Discord image, it'll do a side by side and they'll be the same size.
That's why I don't do that, because I'll just keep looking at me and going, okay, I got to fix my hair.
I've been staring at myself for the vast majority of this podcast. That man. Oh, that's a juicy man right there.
I wouldn't have said that, but yeah, that man is juicy. No, if I would have had it side by side, I would have been looking at myself the whole time too, but it would have been like, oh my God, cut your hair, shave your beard, get a tan.
I try my hardest not to think about my hair when I'm staring at myself. It's just 5 head for days. And also in this lighting, the light just bounces off my forehead like I'm a cue ball, and then the orange in my hair just blends in. I got to do something about the lighting. This room, man, is not made for my skin tone.
Well, I was about to say something kind of the opposite, because I think between you and me, you look like you've got some color to your skin.
Do I?
I look like I'm complete, compared to me, my camera, it's this fluorescent lights in here. I am completely white.
It's probably my computer
I'm almost
monitor.
as white as the keyboard.
I will say I've got 2 computer monitors, and one of them always notoriously makes everything oranger than the other. So to be fair, I might be not fair to myself on this one.
Yeah,
but
I think that's being fair.
I look at my smaller monitor. I'm like, why am I a Cheeto?
Why am I a Cheeto?
Why am I a Cheeto? Why have I become Cheeto Man?
We would love to know, though, if you're still watching us right now. What do you think about it? What do you think about watching us? Do you like seeing our beautiful faces? We'd love to see that comment. Let us know. We
talked about it a little bit, but we've been on video this whole time, and if you've been watching, it's just like, hey, this is kind of an experiment. We're figuring out the format, the layout, and what it'll look like, but we'd love to hear your feedback. In particular, if you've got lots of things to say and so much advice to give, patreon.com/profoundish is the best place to leave those comments, and we will read them.
We will read them.
That's the end of my pitch.
Well, I'll continue the pitch. It's a great way to support what we do. You can get in there for, $1?
We've got slots open for as little as $1.
So you can go in there. Yeah, you can get, I can't remember if we have multiple tiers right now, and I'm sorry. But you can also get exclusive access. Not only, so we'll read your comments on the pod, but also we have little mini pods that are only exclusive to Patreon members too. So you can hear bonus conversations just for you.
Yeah, we had one for this episode. Also, not every time, but sometimes at the very least, we have the episodes up early if you want access to them early. We just have the one tier. There's 2 price points right now. That would make sense. If you guys head over, that'll make sense when you read it. But if you want to see different stuff, more stuff, and have ideas about what you'd like to see on the Patreon, it's going to develop over the course of the year, and you might see different tiers and different offerings throughout the year, because we're keeping our ears open for ideas and trying to start small and grow it like a flower in the dirt, blooming, blossoming to the rain. or something.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I wanted to share this. I was thinking of like the community and stuff. I wanted to share this at the beginning of the episode because I'm going to start doing this, but I forgot. If you're not really, interested in maybe supporting us monetarily, if you go to Spotify, I usually put up polls for you to do. And I'm going to start reading those. And I did want to mention our previous episode, or a couple episodes ago, as of the recording of this, the Mac versus PC episode.
Oh, yeah.
I put up a poll. I'm going to start doing these at the beginning, but I forgot, so this is at the end right now, obviously. But I asked Mac or PC, and we got a 50-50 split. 50% said Mac and 50% said PC.
Half of all of you are wrong. Half of all of you suck.
Now, this is interesting. Let's go back one extra episode, just for a little bonus here. I asked in our Booger Balls episode, which you should go listen to, because we talked about both of these topics in that episode. I said, which is more gross, a snotty kid or a dirty public toilet? Take a guess what you think was what more people voted for.
I was going to say I feel like my vote, as much as I just despise children, I think is the public bathroom would have been my vote. But I don't know. I honestly think that one could go either way.
It was more in favor of the dirty public toilet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because as much as a snotty kid, because we actually went on that train for a long time, snotty kids. That was a theme for a while. As much as snotty kids being sick and gross and touching things sucks, we don't all have to deal with kids, but we've all had to deal with the public bathroom. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. But they're both gross. Anyway, so we'll start doing those. So make sure if you're listening here, go support us on Patreon, get that bonus stuff, but then also hop on if you're a Spotify listener, check out these polls and feel free to put your vote in. We're going to start reading those.
And of course, the other thing you can do for free is if you want to support, like, comment, subscribe, share, 5-star favorite, whatever platform you're listening or watching this on, do the things that you can do. You've been listening to Profoundish. We want to thank you for doing so. Alex, where can we find you specifically on the internet?
Specifically on the internet, you can find me at alexduquette.net. That's my website. You can go there. You can see everything that I do. I don't know why I got that way. I just closed my eyes and I just really envisioned it.
That's how he talks when he closes his eyes. He has to blink real fast so he doesn't break into it.
I want you to know something. I love you. No, you can go to alexduquette.net. Sorry, what's the romantic Valentine's
That's true. We did a heart earlier.
We did do a heart earlier. And we did. So, yeah, alexduquette.net. You can check out my music stuff. I do medleys where I take a bunch of theme songs from various forms of television shows and I combine them into one song. It's really fun, so go check that out. You can also see my album. I have an album called Songs from Sangamon Street. It's just a little over a year old now, so go celebrate that 1-year anniversary by streaming that thing anywhere you stream, or you can do it right on the website. It's a great place to start. Songs from Sangamon Street. Weston, what about you? Where can people find you?
I've got a website as well, westonhasty.com. It's my landing page for all of the things that I do. If you want to go check out my poetry blog on hastylymadedecision.com. If you want to come chill and game with me on YouTube, my username is MagicManMo, so that's youtube.com/MagicManMo. If you just want to say hi on Twitter or X, you can do so at Weston Hasty. All the links to all the things are on the website. That's me, that's Alex, and we've been Profoundish. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time. All right.